Welcome back to the American Superbike Show. I'm your host, Ditch Turner, and it is 14 days until bikes are on track at Daytona International Speedway. I survived the plague. Boy, did I got sick. I got sick. You can probably still hear it a little bit in my voice. Sorry, as I'm still trying to recuperate a little bit. You know, I pushed recording back a day. I usually would do it on Wednesday, but then, last week we had that same little bugaboo that always seems to pop up. I recorded an episode, and then 3 hours later we had news of the week that was announced, and big news too. But anyways, I'm on the mend, feeling better. After I get done recording this, I'm going to head south to meet some friends for lunch. It's a beautiful day outside. I can't wait. But let's go ahead and knock out our news of the week first. And to kick it all off, it is Tyler O'Hara. He will be riding for SDI Indian in 2026. And you know what? This is a combination that's capable of winning races immediately right out the bag. I'm glad that he's going to be back for another year. He's probably, is he the king of the bagger? It's either him or Kyle Wyman. I mean, they both have 2 championships, I believe. Does Wyman have 3 now? It doesn't really matter. I'm just glad that Tyler O'Hara's going to be back, because this is also going to help ensure that we have a nice and healthy field of baggers for the season of races that coming up. Like I was talking about in the season review a few episodes ago, that we always tend to start strong at Daytona because everyone wants to be at Daytona, and there'll be maybe 15 bikes there. But then by the time we get to the end of the year, we're kind of still we're struggling to get 9 or 10 to still be on the grid. So I'm really glad that Tyler O'Hara is going to be back for another full season, and I hope I see him win a race or two. Our next little piece of news of the week, Henk Vosberg confirmed on Instagram that he will be doing the full season of Twins Cup. He only confirmed Twins Cup, though. He's going to be riding with Roben Engineering again on an Aprilia RS660. No mention of Talent Cup. And, that's kind of a little bit of a theme this off-season is, what about Talent Cup? Because it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people are fighting and scratching and clawing to get their way into that class for 2026. I only know of 3 competitors that are confirmed for full-time for the whole season. So, yeah, and I've heard from a couple people who are still trying to sell their bikes from last year. And I guess nobody wants them. So it's going to be something interesting to look into. On the positive aspects, though, Henk Vosberg confirmed for the full season of Twins. That's immediately my championship prediction. I think that he's going to be the guy. Way he came on strong in that class at the end of the year. I mean, Matthew Chapin did as well. I mean, because they both were taking the fight to Alessandro Di Mario when we got to the later rounds at VIR and whatnot. But I just think that Henk Vosberg, he's so good, right away. By the end of the season last year, I don't see how you can't see him as your championship favorite for the Twins Cup in 2026. Our next little piece of news, Yamaha announced their factory-supported teams. And boy, they got a few of them. They got 4 teams that they're going to be supporting here in Moto America. And the superbike level, you're going to have Attack Yamaha. We'll be back with 2 bikes, Bobby Fong and JD Beach. And they'll also be joined by a 3rd bike run by Strack Performance for Matthew Skoltz. And down in the super sport level, you'll have Strack again. The team champion, the rider moved up to Superbike, but the team won the championship for the last 2 seasons, will still be in Super Sport with Blake Davis. And then they're going to be joined by what's now called Liberty Tax Racing, I believe, in Super Sport. And that's the former Giacomoto team run by Chuck Giacchetto, and Dominic Doyle is going to be piloting that bike. And that's where the Liberty Tax sponsorship comes from, because I know they've been on Dominic's leathers for a long time. So it's good to see that they've stepped up, put in probably a little bit more, funding and cash, and now we have Liberty Tax Racing that will be running a Yamaha R9 in Super Sport. And then one more team, and that's going to be Estison Racing. You've heard that name if you paid attention to Flat Track at all, because that is the factory Yamaha team over there, winning the championship last year with Dallas Daniels. So now they're going to be an official, Moto America team as well. They're going to be running, That's one of the bikes that I've previously mentioned that's confirmed for Talent Cup is going to be, they're going to reprise the role for Sam Drain on a number 59, a Yamaha-inspired Kramer. And then they're also going to be running him in the Twins Cup along with Hank Vosberg, kind of like the way Hank and Alessandro Di Mario did last year where they did both classes. And so I think that's going to be, that provides a lot of track time on a couple of bikes that seem to be fairly similar, at least in stature and performance. And so Sam Drain will be running both the Twins Cup and the Talent Cup on Yamahas, or at least Yamaha-supported machines. Our next piece of news of the week, Cody Wyman's going to be running the Baggers World Cup. Good on him. It's going to be with Joe Rascal Racing. I don't really have much information beyond that. Aside from, I do believe Cody will also be at Daytona. I hope he will. I hope to see him there. Let's see here. We also got some more Daytona news. We got Super Carl Solitz. He's going to be running the Daytona 200 on an Astro JRR Hippo and MAR Suzuki GSXR 750. I have no idea if I said all of that right, but damn it, I tried. And that's what really matters. Our next piece of news, let's see here, Factory Triumph. They're also coming back to tackle the Daytona 200. Let's go. I love it when stuff like this happens. They're going to have Davey Todd and Matthew Hickey, the Isle of Man legends themselves are going to be coming to, tackle the high banks at Daytona once again. Just like, and I believe they both have for a number of years in a row now. I love this stuff. This is one of the things that makes Daytona to me like so exciting and meaningful. Like that's an area you can tell where it still has status as the race in North America because people are coming not from just super sport or world super sport or world superbike, but we're getting competitors from the Isle of Man that are coming to try and take on this race. A few years ago, you had the Yamaha, the endurance team, the ART team came over and entered a bike for all of their riders. Like, this is a big deal, and I just love it so much. All right, what's next piece of news of the week? Kira Knievel. The reigning, I guess she's not going to be defending because her 2 years is done in the BTR program, but the Royal Enfield Build Train Race 2025 champion Kira Knievel, she's going to be running 2 Super Hooligan rounds, and it sounds like it's going to be Barber in Mid-Ohio, and she's going to be doing so on a Suzuki SV1000. Now, you may wonder why Barber in Mid-Ohio, and it seems just poking around, reading on Instagram, she said something about, I think she broke her foot, and that might be why no Daytona, because I think it was only a couple weeks ago. So, that would put kind of a little bit of a damper on things, and it's a disappointing that I won't be able to get to see her run there. Hopefully I'll get to run into her on the track, because, I've talked about this when I did the review for BTR, when she had that little corny catchphrase, 2.5 and 2.5, that kind of stuff. That's how you win me over. Oh yeah, immediately. I'm a sucker for that kind of crap. So I hope to beat Kira at Daytona if she's there. And I look forward to watching her, compete in the Super Hooligans class a little bit later in the year. Let's see here. Who else is going to be competing? Well, in Twins Cup, we got is it Way Racing? It's Y Racing. According to the article on MotoAmerica.com, it's Y Racing. And that's how it's pronounced. It's spelled W-E-Y-H, but it's Andrew Y and Eli Block are going to team up together and have a 2-bike team in Twins Cup. And I'm very excited for them. They're both going to be on Aprilia RS660s. Not only do I think that these are a couple of kids that just are right there on the precipice almost of being able to break through, just trying to, get that time on track and hone their skills together and show that they're having more opportunities to show that they really are a couple of good racers, but they're also good guys. They are the first 2 people that were on my podcast and agreed to let me do some sort of little interview things. And that really, I think, is something that helped jumpstart my credibility on doing this. And so I feel like I owe them. And I'm excited that they're both confirmed for a full season in 2026, especially with Eli having to sit out 2025 and just do some, club stuff, because that man's a race winner, and I think that as long as he's able to continue honing his skills, he's going to be a race winner again. most likely at New Jersey, because I mean that's where he won his races before, and he's really damn good at that track. But like, you can't tell me that he doesn't have a chance to win that race this year at the end of the season after getting a whole season of experience back under his belt. So I'm excited for that, and I wish them the best of luck too. Like I'm going to be cheering for them all year long. Let's see here. I have one more piece of news. It's kind of a packed news week, but this one's unfortunately a little sad, and it is that George Barber has passed away. And you may not know who George Barber is, and that's fine. But George Barber, he was a real estate developer and a businessman from the state of Alabama, and he is the one person out there who made Barber Motorsports Park happen. What originally started was just around his collection of vintage motorcycles, which is the largest collection of vintage motorcycles in the world, by the way. You know, he just needed what started as a place to house and maintain this collection that he had, building his museum that ended up becoming a permanent home for the museum on a race course facility that he decided to go ahead and fully fund, just out of his pocket, the construction and the development, because he wanted to do something to elevate his home state of Alabama in the motorsports stage. And he just loved motorcycles. You know, I really love Barber Motorsports Park. It is, to me, the most beautiful circuit that we have on the Moto America calendar. The grounds always look meticulously maintained. I love the art, and I love the statues and the sculptures that are throughout the facility, and I love everything about that place, including the museum. I've talked about before, like, there's a good chance that I'm probably just going to go visit that track when there's absolutely nothing going on, just so that I can go see that museum. Just impressive facility in every manner, and all of it was because of this man. So losing him, it's sad, but the man, he definitely lived a great life, and we're gonna miss him. So, all right, well, that is our news of the week. We're gonna finish up this episode by going into championship predictions. So I went to the Moto America subreddit, and I just put in my little poll of predictions there. You know, I have my own subreddit, but I went to this one because I figured it would get a little bit more interaction, and I was right. So before we get started into everyone else's predictions, I want to go ahead and share mine. Here's who I think will win the individual classes for this year. In Talent Cup, I think it's going to be Kenzie Matsudaira. In Twins Cup, I think it's going to be Hank Vosberg. In Super Sport, Josh Herron. In Super Bike, I think Matthew Skoltz. Like, I know that one's a little out there, but like, you can't tell me it's totally unreasonable pick. And Super Hooligans, I think it's going to be Jake Lewis. And in the Mission King of the Baggers, I think Hayden Gillum's going to win his second championship. And I also put out a bonus prediction out there, and I said that Suzuki will win a Superbike race this year. And boy, you probably, a lot of people were like, what the hell is this guy smoking? First of all, well, smoking stuff. That's what I'm smoking. And then, but second of all, Suzuki. So we know that Team Hammer does not get the same sort of level of factory support from Suzuki that, say Attack does from Yamaha, or that Warhorse does from Ducati. But I know that changed last year. I don't know how much it changed, but I know it changed last year, and support started to come in, and things like swing arms from the Suzuki World Endurance team, and other different kinds of parts started coming from the factory. I heard that they found a lot of power, and I don't know how they found this power, but they found it, and that's all that matters. And that's why when you look at last year's Superbike standings, and you start getting towards the end of the year at VIR and at Mid-Ohio, you see podiums from these Suzukis now, and like, they started coming on strong. I think that that's going to continue. And while it may not carry over directly to the start of the year, and I'm not talking about Road Atlanta or Barber, or maybe definitely not Road America. But when you start looking at these tracks when you get later in the season with, VIR and Mid-Ohio and New Jersey, the Suzukis have already been competing for podiums when we start getting to this point of the season. I think it is possible that this year they're going to finally win a race again. I may be wrong, and that's fine. At least I'm willing to make the pick. So here's some of the responses we had. We had from on Reddit from Slow Cars Fast. I would love to see Hank win the championship in twins. He's a great kid, and I agree with that. He seems I haven't met him yet in person, but he does from everything I've seen in different interviews and stuff. He really seems to have a really good head on his shoulders. Another username I'm going to absolutely just murder. It is CTBCIN in various different levels of capitalization. They put, I feel like Beaubier on the Ducati will be near unstoppable, so he's my pick for Superbike. For Supersport, got to go with Herrin. Yeah, that's pretty safe picks. It's hard to fault the logic there. Let's hear from Reddit user Grape Mustard. I predict that Suzuki will not win our Superbike race. Well, that's a rather bold prediction you're making there, sir. From Biggest Dickus 17. Okay. Twins or Talent Cup. Hank Fosberg if he's running it, otherwise Kinsey. Yeah, I agree there. It's the biggest reason I didn't pick Hank Fosberg for Talent Cup is because I'm not sure if he's running it or not yet. He's still no word. Twins Cup, he says Hank. Super Sport, Herrin, and it's not even close. Though maybe Bender is a wild card. That's going to be a good one to watch. I love these responses from people because a lot of them just get me more excited to watch the season. Let's see here. Superbike, Beaubier if he can stay healthy. Otherwise, Fong. Yep, he managed to stay healthy last year, but the year before, you're right. He has been battling some injuries with his heel and whatnot. Hooligans, Debrino. I think it's going to be hard for the Yamaha to take. This is me speaking, not biggest 17. But I think it's going to be hard for the Yamahas to overtake Harley right off the bat from the beginning of the season, especially at Daytona International Speedway with the high banks and the long straights. And then for baggers, he said, I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. He says, no way Suzuki wins a race unless factory gets involved again. Hammer has nowhere near the budget or equipment of the other teams. Those bikes they are running aren't very different from when they were inherited them from Yoshimura. I also have it on good authority that Hank will make some super sport appearances late in the season once he hits the age minimum. All right, well, the first part of that, Suzuki, well, like I said, I do believe factory Suzuki has gotten involved again. I'm just not sure on how much, what level, especially, remember, don't forget, Suzuki has come out with a newly refreshed GSXR 1000 for 2026. That includes little winglets at the front, but it's supposed to have a new motor and make a lot more power. So, if they can get not just parts from factory Suzuki, but parts for that thing from factory Suzuki, I don't think my little bonus pick is going to be so far out there. All right, let's see here. Reddit user Forsaken Increase 0. I'm always rooting for Fong, but I swear the guy starts getting reckless last quarter of any of the races. That's fair. That's fair. Like I talked about the last episode when we were wrapping up the Superbike Championship review from 2025. Bobby Fong last year, he just tried to do what got him out to the front in the first place, and that was just push, and run away. Maybe his mentality for 2026 might change for a little bit. Maybe not. It's going to be interesting to see. I'll tell you that. I'm really excited to watch it. Let's see here. Reddit user Philly Soup. I'm not up to speed on every class, but here are my picks. Supersport, Herrin. Superbike, Cam Beaubier. Baggers, Wyman. My bonus prediction is that the Orange Cat Light Fighter gets a top 3 result. I love that pick, especially with Josh Herrin being one of the pilots of that bike. And Caleb DeCarroll's not a slouch either. He said he won at least one, maybe 2 Twins Cup championships. I think with those 2 guys on those electric bikes, I'm right there with you. I'm excited to see what happens with going on in the Hooligans class this year. And I got to admit, too, a little slight digression here. I've never been the biggest fan of electrical bikes. and a large part of that is because, when I'm out there on a motorcycle, I want to be, just fast and loud. Like, those are the 2 things that just kind of bring me that emotional attachment to, my 2-wheel machine and bring a lot of fun. And so going to electric, you lose the loud part. And the more I ride my electric dirt bike, the more I'm okay with it. But I have always been the kind of person to be like, well, I'll still probably just get a gas bike, though, whenever the time comes, just because of, the fast and loud reasons. That doesn't mean that I hate electric bikes, though. I love progress. I love competition. I love trying something new. And this Orange Cat Light Fighter, it's all of that. And we haven't had an electric bike in the Hooligan series since, the Energica went away from Tytler Cycles used to run with Stefano Mesa. And I'm really excited that we have this sort of just something different back in the paddock. And it is something I'm really going to be excited to watch. All right, and one last response from our things well, I love this screen name, is from Stick Wiggler. Someone once said, "We'll get it next year," has been Team Hammer's mission statement for a while. I would love to see them get on a box, but I think JD, Cam, and Bobby are going to own damn near all the podiums. A lot of people have seem to have this feeling that Team Hammer is just kind of barely hanging on, and I don't know. I just maybe I'm watching a different Live Plus or something. Which, with the struggles of Live Plus, that's not exactly a highly remote possibility. Maybe I am watching a different Live Plus. How's that for some real food for thought? But anyways, I don't know. I think they've been competing for podiums. They've been getting podiums. Sean Dillon Kelly had 2 or 3 second place finishes last year. I just think that it's all been building, and it's finally time, and it will come together. And Suzuki will once again be on the top step of the podium. All right. As you can probably hear, my voice is kind of starting to succumb again, slipping in and out. So I'm probably going to sign this off for now for this week. Next week, we will be back, and we will be doing the sighting lap for Daytona. Do you remember the sighting lap? Does anybody remember what the sighting lap is? It's one of the original formats of this show. The show before the race weekend is the sighting lap. The show after the race weekend is the podium. In the sighting lap, we're going to take a look at the weekend to come and all the classes and the predictions for who's going to win the individual races. And in the podium, we will, y'all have brains. You'll figure this out. I don't know why I'm talking more than I need to. Y'all just try to take care of each other.